Giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about ELIXIR and industry this afternoon. It's a fairly short presentation, and I think you've heard some of the key points already. Just to say that I'm here in the role as co-chair of the Industry Stakeholders Committee, which was a subcommittee of ELIXIR Preparatory Stage Project Work Package 3. I'm also the EBI Industry Programme Manager, but I'll be talking about that particular programme tomorrow afternoon in a technology track presentation. So if you're interested in hearing about the industry programme, please come along to that. So we've heard already about the importance of ELIXIR to build a sustainable European infrastructure and its importance to bioindustries. We know that industry, from the SMEs to big multinationals, needs access to public data to analyse its proprietary data. I think all companies are now aware that there is much more information outside the company, and that to truly leverage the knowledge of the information they have, they need to analyse it in combination with that public information. So we know that ELIXIR will contribute to European innovation by strengthening the global position and influence of life science research in both academia and industry. And just to get on to what we actually came up with in the Work Package 3 report, I'll just mention a couple of things. So the Work Package 3 report, the people on the Work Package were primarily people from larger companies. We found it difficult to get anybody from SMEs involved at that stage, but I'll say something else about SMEs later on. So the key drivers that we identified in the report were the need to avoid duplication of effort. This is obviously the driver behind a lot of the pre-competitive initiatives that we've seen in Europe over the last few years, including, for example, the IMI initiative that some of you will be aware of. Interoperability and compatibility of public/private data. I think one thing for industry is the recognition that they get lots of information from the public domain. They generate lots of data internally, but they also acquire data through outsourcing and through licensing from third parties. And so there's a need to make sure that there is a interoperability, compatibility across all those data sources. Obviously, they want private access to public infrastructure. It's quite interesting, some of the take-up we've had on some of the services that have been developed at EBI, which provide, if you like, a secure access, but the private access is an interesting one. And then obviously, as Janet's slides indicated, you all saw those exponentially growing curves, life on the log scale, as some people call it, and there is obviously an enormous cost associated with all those things. So there's a cost driver behind all this. So that's the drivers. In terms of the recommendations of the report, there were a number. Firstly, industry strongly supports ELIXIR. It is essential for the European knowledge economy. It was felt that the initial focus should be on the core data resources. That was the place to start. That was the place where there would be most mileage and the biggest impact. And a third point was the principle of unrestricted and open data access for all. That was felt to be particularly important. If you're in a world where, and we get this in the context of some of the literature, for example, where everything you're given comes with different licensing arrangements and different ways that you can use it and that kind of thing, it becomes, integrating the data and actually using it effectively becomes a great challenge. So, and the other point, and the point I'll say a little bit more about, was there was a real focus on services. That was, I think, the thing that came out of the industry stakeholders report, which I think was a slightly different focus than maybe we'd thought at the beginning. So it's not just about data, it's not just about data, it's about services around that data as well. So As you know, it's been the pharma industry that have been the early adopters of informatics approaches, and the pharma companies continue to be some of the largest and significant investors in this area from a commercial point of view. But as has been mentioned, there's a whole range of different industries that are potentially impacted by the resources and services that ELIXIR can potentially offer. And that's just a suggestion of some of them there. What I'd also like to do, though, is just to give a little bit more background to that. There was a work package called Work Package 10, which was about interdisciplinary interactions with chemical, plant, environment and agriculture databases. And I think some of the people here in this audience may have been involved in that. And I think it's important to say that there was a lot of emphasis on the small molecule side, including metabolites, the tox, etc. The plant sciences side, molecular data for crops, pests, pathogens, the veterinary side and aquaculture side, and then the, if you like, the environmental domain as well. So it's not just about the pharmaceutical industry, it's about all these other activities in addition. So this is some of the text from the, if you like, the conclusion of the report. And the key focus here was that a pan-European infrastructure, informatics infrastructure, and associated services are considered essential to support the European knowledge economy. And there are significant benefits to be derived from that. But I guess the point that will be fairly clear to you is that it's not trivial how we will do that, and we shouldn't underestimate the associated challenges for doing that in a distributed context. So, but just to mention a couple of other things which really follow on from some things that Janet was saying. Services was the focus for the industry Work Package 3 report. There's some other things as well. As Janet mentioned, if the new hub is funded, then there's an opportunity for doing things through the translational suite. That can be knowledge exchange activities, pre-competitive projects. Obviously, training for industry is a critical concept. So, finally, just let me say something about SMEs. We find it a challenge to work with SMEs, partly because there's so many of them, they're heterogeneous, they don't all do the same thing at all, they've got different interests. If you work with companies in the pharmaceutical industry, they're all working in the same regulated industry, they have all kinds of commonalities. SMEs do all kinds of different things, and it's a challenge that we've been trying to deal with over the last few years. One way of working with SMEs that has been moderately effective is working with regional agencies. And over the last couple of years, we've had a couple of meetings which I would describe as outreach and training showcasing meetings that have been hosted by regional agencies. One was here in Vienna in 2009, hosted by Austria Wirtschaftsservice. Last year, we had a similar meeting that was jointly hosted by BioM in Munich and the European Patent Organisation at their offices in Munich. This year we have a similar meeting that we'll be working with BioPmed, and I've got a typo there, in the Bioindustry Park Silvano Fumero in Piemonte, and that showcasing and training meeting is actually in October, the 6th to 7th. You're welcome to register for that. And on the basis of that, I think there may be an opportunity to extend this approach for working with ELIXIR nodes around Europe in combination with those regional agencies. So that's all I wanted to say, essentially. So thank you.